What is up, guys? Today we're going to talk about one of the scariest places on earth. There's no place on earth scarier than a police cell to a junkie. You might hear people say, look, I'd rather spend a month in a prison than a week in a police cell because it's treacherous. You lose track of everything. And I'm sure nowadays it's changed, but back when I was a heroin addict, when I was a thief, when I was a junkie, shoplifter, I was stealing from office blocks, I was a little scumbag. And back when I was doing it, the police cells were, there was just disgusting. Like nowadays, it's still crap in the police cell, but at least now they're clean, they're tidy, you've got, I think they might be cameraed up now, you can press the buzzer and someone will actually come and try and help you. And you know, they didn't have that when I was doing it. When I was doing it, it was, the cell was disgusting. It was freezing cold. They had this noise overhead with and the walls were covered in like snot and piss, and the floor was disgusting. It was like I don't know what they used, like a black tar on the floor that was sticky. And you have to take your shoes off before you go in because they don't want you like hanging yourself, even though there's nowhere to hang yourself from. But some people just like tie it around the neck just for, you know, to like a cry for help. And it's horrible. When you're there, I mean, the police cell is bad anyway, just for a normal person. But when you're a drug addict, it's just 50 times worse. And there's a smell, a certain, I don't know what it is. It's kind of like when you get a hangover, you know, you can smell things what you wouldn't normally smell, and your hearing's sensitive and bright lights are sensitive. It's kind of like that when you're detoxing, and there's a horrible smell in the cells. I can't describe it. I can smell it now if I think about it, but I can't describe it. It's like, I said it before, it's like trying to explain a colour. You can't do it. But yeah, there's a horrible smell, like a rattling smell. And back then, they just throw you in this cell. And one of the most annoying things for me, like, because I was in there all the time, and I have seen grown men crumble in those police cells. That's how bad it is. I've seen big, hard, strong tax men that bully people on the streets, beat people up on the streets, and I've seen them on the knees crying, trying to grasp people up just to get out of the cells. That's how bad it is. And I've cried myself in the cells through frustration. I remember I'd only just got out and I was straight back in again, and they was messing with me. They had me, see, usually if I get caught for something, right, shoplifting, they'll catch me, I'll come to this police cells, I'll admit it, I'll say, yeah, it was me, I'll go to prison, I'll sit in my cell, I'll do my number, I don't whinge, I don't moan. But they got me this one time, and you, like I said, usually I'll admit it, but they had me on camera. They didn't, I can't remember what it was. It was some sort of office building linked to Monitor or something. And they didn't have me on camera doing it. They didn't have me even in the building. They just had me on camera like on the street around that time. And they kept me in there for ages, and they always locked me on. They always call me Ian, which I hate. And then they take me down and say, right, we're just going to pop you down for a couple of minutes. I'd be like, just fuck up. You know I'm going to be here for like 3 days, 2 or 3 days. And they kept me in there for ages. I think they get 24 hours and then they can get an extension. So they've kept me in there. They've interviewed me. Right? And I says, yeah, that's me on camera, but I didn't do this. You know, I was just in the area. And so then it's been 24 hours. They've got an extension. They've gone and searched my mum's house, come back, and they've got this coat. And said, oh, look, this is the coat you were wearing. I'm like, yes, that is me, but I didn't do this. I was just in the street at the time around that area. I'm not disputing that's me. And then they've gone away again and searched my dad's house and then come back again. I was just like, mate, you're taking the piss. Let me go, you know, you ain't got out on me. And they couldn't prove anything. And I was in there for ages, and this is one of the few times where I really got frustrated. So I started banging on the door, which I never do that, because there's no point. But that's how frustrated I was. And I was banging on the door, boom, 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 and they just said, look, just stop banging. And I said, so now you're taking piss, you fucking, you know, you just, you know you can't prove it, you're just trying to keep me in here as long as you can. And then they went away, so I was boo, boo, banging again, and they just ran in, mob-handed, twisted me up, took me around the other side of the police cell, just threw me in a cell and looked at. It was like a cell inside a cell, and they just slid the door shut, and they says, "Hey, you can fucking bang all you want now." So there's no point banging because it just doesn't get you anywhere. But then eventually they did let me go, and I remember I just got out, and because I was caught in that world of addiction, and I just couldn't seem to get out of it. And I just got out, and I got caught again, and I was back in again, and this one time I just broke down, and I was crying, and I was just so frustrated because I couldn't cope anymore, and it's like everybody in there knew who I was. So as soon as I went in there, they'd be like, "Oh, you're right, Ian. You're back again, Ian," and all the little jokes and the things, and they'd say, "Oh, they knew what I wanted. You want a coffee, hot chocolate, 2 sugars, all day breakfast," and like I said, you get this horrible smell, and you lose track of everything because there's just 4 walls and a generator going, meh, and it drives you mad, and you're going to be there all night, which is bad enough. So when you're detoxing from heroin, you can't sleep, so you're there all day suffering, and you're suffering all night, and like there might be a chance of getting out, so then it seems to take even longer, and it's an absolute nightmare. See, what usually happens is they'll bring you in, they'll arrest you, say, just an average arrest for a normal person. They'll lock you up at 9 a.m. in the morning, let's say. They'll bring you in, they'll book you in, put you in a cell while they get ready to do the interview, gather the evidence. And then, like 6 or 7 hours later, they'll come, say, "Right, do you want your solicitor? Your solicitor's here, have a word with your solicitor." And then they'll do the interview, and then they'll take you back out, put you back in the cell. They will talk about whether they're going to charge you or not. They'll ring the prosecution, say, "Right, we've got this evidence, can we charge him?" And they'll say, "Yeah, charge him," or "No, you've got to bail him." And then they'll come back, get you out of your cell, take you up, and then they'll say, "Right, you're being charged," or they're going to let you go. And for me, I was always get charged, and they say, "Right, we're going to charge you. You're going to have to come back and appear in court in 2 weeks' time or 2 months' time, and they might give you a few conditions on your bail." But me, I always got remanded. So they would say, "Right, we're going to keep you for the next available court. And if they catch you on a Friday, the next available court is Saturday. But, if they're still interviewing you the next morning, then you'll miss that court. Then they're going to keep you Friday, Saturday, Sunday until Monday." And, oh man, I've done so many 3-day locals. It's horrible. You're not going nowhere for 3 days, sat in a cell. And to top it all up, you're detoxing, and it's horrible. It feels like a month, because you can't sleep, so you're doing all day and all night. And then eventually they'll come, and it's really a nice feeling when you've been in all weekend, and then you hear the keys jingling you can hear the cuffs going, you can hear the cuffs rattling because it's the group 4, and they're taking people over to the courtroom, and you're just so happy just to get out of this cell. And they'll come in, and you can smell the perfume, the aftershave, whether it's a man or a woman. And there's always a saying, "You're right, Ian, back again, are you? Well, you're going to have to..." And even all the group 4 knew me, and they'd take me. What they do is they take you underneath the police station up into the courtroom, and then you would sit and wait to go to court, and then off you go to whatever prison. The judge will either say, "Yeah, we're going to let you go. You'll get a probation, you'll get a community order, community service, whatever." Or they'll say, "Right, you're remanded because it's a serious charge, or you've breached bail or something. Then we're going to remand you," and then they'll put you back down underneath the court, and then on the sweat box to the prison. And those sweat boxes, they are like the loneliest place on earth. And you'll notice, like, when you're going from the sweat box is like the bus. It's kind of like, take everything out of your fridge, go and sit in your fridge and shut the door. That's what it's like being on a sweat box, and they'll take you off to your prison. And from the courtroom to the prison, it's always very quiet, very sombre. Everybody's miserable, everybody's depressed, and you're sat in the sweat box. And I remember, I would always think back, and I would look at all these people, like going about the business, you know, going to work, going to college, you know, going by on bikes, and I would sit there in the sweatbox, feeling sorry for myself, you know, because I'm like, why am I sat in this sweatbox? Why am I a drug addict? Why am I a heroin addict? You know, why can't I get out of this lifestyle? There's all these hundreds of thousands of people going about their lives, and I'm stuck here, miserable, can't get out of this life. And it's horrible, it's an awful feeling. It's very lonely and miserable, because everybody's contemplating on the bus. It's always very quiet, because they're thinking about what's coming ahead. You know, if it's your first time, you're thinking, oh man, what's going to happen? Am I going to get beat up? Do I know anyone? And all. For me, it was just Tuesday, you know, because I've been through it 100 times. Well, maybe not 100, but I've been through it loads of times. In fact, it might be 100 times, thinking about it. But yeah, it was just another day to me. But still, I'd still be miserable, because I knew what was coming. 3 weeks sat in my cell, detoxing, miserable. And when you're a YO, it's even worse, because you've got everyone pecking at your head. Everybody wants to fight each other, and you're sat there rattling. But yeah, on the way to the prison from court, it's very quiet and depressing, and everybody's miserable and deep in thought. But from prison to the court, you know, everybody's like done the detox. Everybody's like hyper, and everybody's laughing and happy, and you know, they're used to the surroundings. They know that they're going to court, and it's like a totally different ride. And you get on the sweatbox, and everybody's shouting and laughing. They'll have the radio on. It's like a total different bus ride. And by the way, the one thing that I always did is sit at the back, or, well, I say sit at the back, sit wherever they put me. But I would just sit and listen to people, you know, and listen to and it's really entertaining. You hear some really good jokes. And actually, that's where I first heard of Brett May. He's been caught up getting a little bit of stick online, because he's been caught lying about beating up Decker in prison, which I said before. I said, look, I wouldn't be surprised either way. If he has, I wouldn't be surprised, because that's what he's like. But I wouldn't be surprised if he hasn't, because he's playing the YouTube game, getting views, and making YouTube more interesting, to be honest. But the first time I heard his name was on a sweatbox, and he was talking to a lad. I think he's dead now, kid called P.O. from Donny, John Pearson, I think his first name was. Good lad. And he was talking to Brett, and Brett was screaming, shouting, saying, yeah, I'm from Donny, I back my fucking shit, and just telling everyone he wants to, because he just wants to fight everyone. And that's what he's like in prison. And he was screaming and shouting, and I was just listening, thinking, wow, this guy's intense, you know. And that's one of the good things about prison. If you watch me, you'll hear me always talk negative about prison, because it's crap, you know. It's boring, it's depressing, it's violent, it's rubbish. But when you're there, it gives you a chance to meet people and get to know people that you wouldn't normally get to know. Just people like Brett May, for instance. Like, he's totally opposite of me. I'm quiet, reserved, you know, and I'm like non-violent. And he's like the opposite. He's loud, brash, violent, you know, and it allows two people like that to talk and get to know each other. And I always liked that about prison, that it would force you, I guess, to get to know people that you wouldn't normally get to know on the outside. And because in prison, you're all the same, unless, of course, you're a wrong 'un, and then they just get beat up and tortured in prison. But the average prisoner, you're all just bare bums in the shower. So yeah, that was one of the good things I liked about prison, getting to know people that you wouldn't normally get to know. But yeah, that's what it's like in the police cells. A horrible, treacherous place, man. Just thinking about it now, I can pretty much remember one of the first times I got locked up, and we were sat on the prison bus, and that song came on. And that's always been a trigger for me. Whenever I hear that song now, it puts me right back into a prison bus, detoxing from drugs. And it was that All Saints song, and it starts off, it says, a few questions that I need to know. Do you ever love me so? Or something like that. And it was on the radio all the fucking time. So it's kind of like burned into my head. And it puts me right back in a prison cell, or in a prison bus. But yeah, as always, stay well away from prison. It's not a holiday camp. It's crap. It's fucking violent, it's depressing, it's miserable, and everybody that says it's holiday camp, guarantee you while they were in there, they'd have been whinging and moaning. But anyway, that's the video for today. If you like this video, press the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Yeah,